All right, round
Woo.
one. Woo. So smartness, how did your students show smarts? What did students do and say that demonstrated smartness? Be specific about what you saw and heard from students.
I feel like something that I saw with my students in relation to their smartness is that two of them went in for their like creative smarts. So they suggested writing a song or like doing a dance, which I feel like really dived into like the multiple intelligence and like if you like to move your body, like how can you bring that into this space? And I feel like they really figured out that, but also like right, like the musical aspect too, like oh we could rap to a song and like so I thought that's how my students brought in smarts. But also some of them were a little bit like more calculated and more logistical and they were like like we'd rather do like a slideshow or I also saw my students do a video, so I think it just depended on the group, but I think they all brought their smarts in different ways in terms of like some of them were a little bit like more creative, more body liberatory, like more inclined to do music, while others really just enjoyed like a structured PowerPoint.
Hmm. I noticed that too. I think a lot of them got excited when they were like, okay, creative freedom. And like, oh, we can do this, we can do that. A lot of them were like inclined to do the dance. And I saw the way of thinking, but then they were like putting it into a dance, which was really interesting. I didn't even think that like that could be done, but they were coming up with like the song and these dance movements that all like explained what was it again? The technology like issue
Yeah, the
working
technology issue.
with. And so I was like, that's I don't know. I thought that was really cool how they were able to express that like creatively. Um but yeah, I think something that I saw I don't think I would have seen that in my like students per se. Like I know they have like different smarts, but it was something cool to see how like their creative side just kind of like flourished and they were like, really interested in that. Um but yeah, discuss I have to discuss one case in more detail. Or should we go on to mine now?
Oh, wait, say that. Wait, say that again. Sorry, I didn't hear your question.
No, you're good. Because it was teacher shares noticings, observer shares noticings, discuss one case in more detail. I think we're both thinking of the same case. I think it's your table that sits
Um,
closest to like the chair with
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the window. That's the group that I saw them connecting. They were really excited, and some of them were working on dance moves while other ones were working on like words to say and like if they were to say like words while they're dancing. That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking of.
I think it was also like really interesting to see how the students all brought their different smarts because I feel like there was two students, which were the two girls, Jocelyn and Veronica, who were like more inclined and more excited to like, oh, we should do it to this song. Oh, we should do the dance. But then you had on the other sides, the students that were like Sid and Leah, who were kind of like, like we're not super down for it, but we're also not like against it, but maybe we can make a creative presentation. So like what they did was um the dance was kind of like an added bonus at the end. Like it was just this fun, silly time. And then the main chunk of the project was done in a PowerPoint. So it
Okay.
was kind of like interesting to see of like, okay, how much can we actually portray in a dance?
Hmm.
To then like how do we still meet the requirements of this assignment? And
Right.
I think like that's where students also not only did they have to work together to figure that out, but they also had to bring their individual like smarts and perspectives into the conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it was the same one. I know I was thinking about them.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it speaks a lot about like how you are as a teacher too, because it just shows how like comfortable they are with like, yeah, we're gonna do a dance or yeah, we're gonna sing a song and they feel comfortable. I don't know, you've probably made the classroom feel very comfortable with like expressing themselves in that way. So I'd like that. And I'm taking a bit of that into like what I'm planning for my next unit with like the creative freedom thing and seeing where my students go with that. But
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm excited for that. I can answer mine. Um, I think we've talked about how for mine, students were creating murals on like um different showing them like different political statements and like how they can use their voice for good. And a lot of them in their reflection that they wrote, were able to make like cultural connections, even though they were creating murals on different countries. What they wrote in like while the students were presenting or in the reflection, I noticed a lot of students connecting, being like, oh, I really found this like empowering because this is something that we're seeing right now with like immigration in the US, or we're seeing we see that the American dream isn't just like an Ecuadorian thing, it's also like a Mexican American thing. And so they were comparing what they were learning, like the symbolism in what some of my students were presenting, and
Mhm.
they were putting that into like their reflection and comparing it to their own lives. And I was like, okay, that's definitely a smart, like they're seeing the
Mhm.
symbolism in through art, through what I've taught them, but now like they're doing it and now they're connecting it now to their lives. And I thought that was really interesting to see. Um, I don't think I have a specific example of
Mhm.
that. I think it was just what I saw in like the reflections that they wrote at the very end. So it wasn't anything you I think saw, but um yeah, one of their smarts.
Wow, thanks for sharing. Um, I think like something I observed in your classroom, from okay, so I'm thinking of two tables. So from your desk is right here, and then the table that's right here.
Mm-hmm.
One of the girls like super talented at drawing, like super talented. So I just feel like that's a smart that I think like especially in a world language class doesn't really get recognized enough because it's not something that you're really like working on. So I think like your project allowed her to have like that creativity in a place where maybe she doesn't get it all the time. And she was the one kind of like everyone did their part and then she was like putting it together and like drawing it out and it was just the sketch.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, for that to be just the sketch, like insane. And then the other table I'm thinking about is the one that you were talking to. They were right in the middle, in the
Middle
front.
front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know specifically like what type of smart this would be, but I think you push them.
Mm.
Like you had them explain like their mural, like you had them like I feel like they were very creative thinkers and I think they were very empathetic with like what they were trying to like portray on their mural and it was also a very powerful message. It was the Chile one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I feel like all in that, like I think a superpower is like this union, but not just like them being united together and creating this, but I think like the feeling of that. And I think just being in tune with like their emotions, like I think they were all very like emotionally aware of what's going on for them to have created that mural together.
Hmm. Yes, those students, that group of students are very like efficient with what they do. So they're very like always on task, getting everything done very fast. So I try to like push them to think a little bit more. Um, yeah, and to explain to me what they had. And now that I'm thinking about it, like the smarts that I was like explaining happened the reflection piece happened the week of the walkout and the protest that they did. So they got to see it, they
Oh,
got to feel all of that, and they felt in community. There was a lot of space that I held to talk about that. And so when they were reflecting, they're like, damn, like they were like, yeah, this is happening. And they were able to see it through their art. And I talked about how, like, in our art, you guys are doing this, and now they're able to connect like what they're doing
mhm,
like outside of like the class, but still in community, like within their like those students, and then like
mhm.
with the art. So I think that was something that I forgot, but I remembered right now. So I like that they were able to connect that.
Yeah,
The
that's
students were
good.
also two of the four in that group were the
Mhm.
ones that led the whole like protesting.
Oh, wow. Oh
I,
my
I think that's why
God.
I'm like connecting all the dots. I'm like, dang, dang, dang. But yeah, um,
Okay, Slay. Oh my gosh. Okay, so leadership. Ah, that's a
yeah,
smart. Ah.
that leadership. Um, yeah, thank you. Do you want to move on to round two?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, I'm not timing it, are you?
I kind of am. I think we've been talking for like 8-ish minutes right now, which is how long, yeah. We can do it quicker in the next round if you want.
No, no, no. The time, like, it's perfect. I just want to make sure that we're not like under our time.
No, I think we're fine with time. Yeah.
Okay, Slay.
Yeah. Also, this meeting only lasts 40 minutes, so whenever it ends, it ends.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Impact of group work structures. To what extent were the structures of group work, such as roles, utilized by students? And it says, how did students use these structures or not impact collaboration and learning?
Okay. So for my classroom, I feel like the role cards were really great.
Hmm.
Like I do feel like they used them. I think if anything, it was like I needed to stay. Like, okay, for one, this was their first time doing group work. So like they didn't know how to use the task cards, especially because I always make myself so available to them. Like if they ever have a question, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's like, no, in this context, like only one person can ask me the question. But it's like I remember the four girls in the back,
The back, like, oh,
in the middle.
oh, in the middle. Okay, okay. Yeah.
Like I remember like Sophie would ask me something, and I'm like, no, like Katie's the only one that can ask me. So I think like while like I also feel like they didn't use it, like that specific table. I also feel like there was times where I didn't enforce it because I forgot.
Hmm.
And then when I did remember, I was like, no, like only Katie can ask me questions. And then they were like, oh, okay, like fine. Um, so I
Yeah.
feel like it did work. Um, but all of the students that were there that day are students who work well. I think like, ooh, actually, okay, actually, yes, they did work well because the girl who wanted to do the dance, Veronica,
Hmm.
she her and Jocelyn have like a lot of like an IEP, a 504. So like they need that extra support. And I remember Veronica was already like, I want to be harmonizer, like I want to do that. So I think like, did they completely use them? No. Did I completely enforce it? I tried my best. But I
Hmm.
also feel like it was a guided resource for them to be like, okay, I'm responsible for this time. And especially because it was our first time doing group work, like I actually really did appreciate the result because at least like people got excited. At least some people did follow them, and I did enforce when I remembered. Uh,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
how did it impact? Use of these structures impact or not collaboration and learning. Um, I think it made it easier to like facilitate because you kind of had someone to like rely on. I feel like my students did. I don't know. I feel like they did step into their roles. Like, I don't think there was, I feel like if anything, it made it easier because it's like, okay, like I'm this person, you're this person. I think it was literally just the aspect that they didn't understand. Oh, what I would have done differently is had them read them
Mm-hmm.
because I think I explained them, but I feel like I didn't have them take a minute to read them. And so they were like, what does this even do? Or like, so I remember the table in the front didn't use them at all, but they were still talking. But that's because the groups that they were placed in were their comfort people.
Okay.
So I feel like because I knew this was their first group project, I placed them with comfortable people and I gave them the role cards as like a support. And so some tables use them to further their collaboration. And what that looked like is like, oh, like, okay, linguista, can you ask maestra this?
Mm.
Right. But then there was other tables where it's like, I didn't use them. So maestra, maestra. And it's like, no, I can't talk to you. You can't talk to me.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I kind of saw, I think the group, like girls in the back, not in the back middle, but the back side.
mhm.
they took a while to like, okay, fine, I guess we have the roll cards. And they're like, because I told them, I was like, okay, like, what roles do you have? And they were like, oh, we have to like read them. And I was like, yeah, like,
Mm,
what's your job? And so it took them a little bit of time to warm up, but it makes sense now because it was the first um group project. But then after that, I felt like everyone worked well. Like they're like, oh, I want to be this or I want to be that. So they were like enthusiastic about what they had to do, and like they, for the most part, I saw that they followed like they were doing. Um, but yeah, good
cool.
good job with your roles.
Thank you.
Um, let me see. So for mine, I think I had way too many roles. And so to them, it was
Mm.
just like, too many things to look at or keep track of. Um, yeah, because majority of them had like two roles or some of them had one. Yeah, that was it. Yes.
Um, did you assign the roles or did they choose?
No. So the first week they got to choose their roles, and then the second week, well, they got to choose them again, but I was like, you have to choose different roles.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. I let
Okay.
them choose them because oh, I talked to them about how like the test that they just took about like their multiple intelligence
Ability.
like
Yeah,
that.
or the
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Like based off of that, what do you think you would be like best at? What do you think you would your personality, your learning style would fit best? So I had them choose based off of what they learned and the notes they took. And they did fine the first week. The second week, they were just like over the roles. They were just already like ready, like we want to just work together. Like I don't care about the roles. Like no one was keeping time. There were some note takers, but they just kind of divided the work evenly for
How
like
they saw.
for based off of them. I
Mhm,
didn't see them sticking to the roles or like using the language frames, like the sentence frames that I gave them. Um, but it was just like they were getting annoyed with me with like the one person that could ask the questions.
mhm.
They'd be like, "Oh, Miss Rie, like I have a question." I'd be like, "Okay." I was like, "Wait, ¿quién es el chapulín or whoever the?"
Mm,
And they'd be like, "Ugh," and they'd be like, "Okay." It'd be like Ivan, and he'd be like, "Citlali, can you ask Miss Bree that?" Blah 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 blah. And I'd be right there, and I was like, I
yeah.
just felt like dumb, you know? Like I was like, "Is this
Yeah.
cool?" Um, so I felt a little bit like like maybe I don't know how I could reword that or like make it better because they were just annoyed with me with that. And they're like, really? Like, why can only that person talk to you? And it was just like, okay. Um, so that's something that I would change. Linguista, I really liked because they were
Mhm.
just getting on each other. They'd be like, hey, en español, dilo en español. Whenever I walked by, they'd be like, en español. But whenever
Mhm.
I wasn't there, they'd just be talking English because it's what's easiest for them, I guess. But I thought it was funny. They would take it seriously when they'd see me walking by. En español.
Mhm.
But that's one I think I would use again um in the future if I ever decide to do something like this again.
Yeah, I think I feel like something I observed at yours was like it was either a table like really into it or a table like completely like I'm not gonna, which like same thing at mine. Like I feel like it's a hit or miss.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like I'm like thinking, but I feel like they were like at least inclined to like see what it is, see what their jobs were. Like, I think you just have to be like teamwork when they ask you, like, but why can only one person? Because you're supposed to be working together. Um,
Emphasizing that, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I feel like let me see. Let me look at the question again. To what extent were structures of group versus this world utilized by students? How did students use these structures or not to impact collaboration and learning? Well, I feel like the tables that didn't, regardless, like they still collaborated. I
Hmm.
just feel like for some tables, especially if you give them too many roles, like you said, like some of them had two or one, like it could just be overwhelming. Because I know for myself, like I'm like, like I don't want to read that.
Yeah, it was a lot of words too. So I'm like,
Mhm. But now at least like they're more familiar with it and they know it. So if you did do something like this and you did less roles,
hmm
like, like it would be, they'd be like, oh, like I already know how to do this. Like I'm gonna be this one.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is something I'll keep in mind. Um, I forgot one other role. I think it was maybe harmonizer. I don't know what I had, but they liked the one where I like just brought certain of them to like meeting to like a huddle and they'd be like, oh, like we have like secret information. Yeah, Miss Brie gave me a little card, blah blah, you guys want to see? And so that kind of excited them. They're like, yeah, like only we got this information. So I like
Oh,
that
that's
doing the
cute.
little huddles. But yeah. Sorry, I
That's
just remembered that.
no. I didn't know you had that role. That's a cute role because I think like also sometimes with group work it can feel like daunting.
hmm
So I liked that
I'm trying
I
to.
liked that you have like that extra little fun part of like, oh ha ha ha.
Yeah, and I mean it wasn't necessary. Like I didn't need to do team huddles or something like that, but I think it made it more cool. Like, oh, they're only calling certain people, and like only certain people have this information, and so they're like, what is it? You know, like those chismosos. Like I want to know too. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, I like that. So I think I definitely do that again.
Okay.
See.
Round three.
Yes.
Okay.
Patterns of student interaction and instances of status issues. Which students interacted, how often, and in what ways? What did your three focal students do during the task? How did they participate and interact with the task and the group? This is a long one. My gosh. And then
Mhm.
did you notice any negative patterns in group interactions? If so, what were they? Okay.
Let's start with A.
Yeah, let's just do the because it's a long
What
one.
what students is interacted? How often and in what ways? What did your three focal students do during the task? How did they participate and interact? Okay. I feel like I
Uh,
feel like all of my students interacted.
mhm.
Um,
We have,
oh shoot, we only have 10 minutes. Okay, let's do this.
yeah,
So
we can do it in 10 minutes. Okay.
I feel like most of my students interacted except like the really quiet ones. I feel like it was too much, maybe like too much all at once. Like this is new to us. Like what are we doing? Like this is weird. I also feel like I gave them the papers all at once, so maybe that was like a lot.
Hmm.
Because I'm thinking, well, it's because this is the thing. So the only really quiet student that was there that day was Oliver and Aaron. And
Mm.
then all of my other kids that are more on the quiet side, like weren't there. Because I'm specifically thinking about that day,
Not to
um,
broaden it up.
but I feel like Oliver, because he was placed with people that he feels a little bit more comfortable with, I feel like he did interact at least with the material. Was it harder to keep up? Yes, because he needs more processing time. So I think like something I could potentially build in that I built in at Jackie's is a check-in list
Mm.
or yeah, like a checklist because I feel like then at least there, like he knows where they're at and where the conversation is going instead of like, where do we start? And I feel overwhelmed already with all the materials I just got.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Um, so yeah, so I feel like okay, so Aaron, Veronica, and Aaron, Veronica, and Oliver, they weren't my I think Veronica was one of my focal students. I don't remember. Okay, but I'm gonna focus on them because they were the people that were there from when I initiated like the project. Veronica, I feel like she interacted really, really well. Like I think she was excited. I think she was happy that it was something different, but I also think that she was in a really good mood that day. So I think like that really navigated like, oh my God, I get to work with my friends, and then like, oh my God, like this is so cool. Erin, I think she's on the quieter side, but she knows how to interact with her partners and she knows how to do partner work. She's a very kind person. So I feel like the task wasn't, it was maybe a little confusing for her, like, but how creative, but why not just give them computers? Like, no. But I think like overall it was like she got it. Oliver, I think like just kind of having that aid of what are we doing, when are we doing it, and having a little bit more structure
Mm-hmm.
um, would have helped him because I think it was just a lot of reading all at once.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I'm like I hear the names, but I don't know their faces, so I can't like picture them.
Yep.
But let me see. Yeah, I'm like trying to see who my focal students are. I remember one of them, uh, Kevin. He's one of my students that I've, like, I guess, been working with since the start of DEG.
Mhm.
He did a whole 180 this entire time. During like the task, he did really good. I guess he really liked the idea or like the fact that he was able to work with his hands. And he had a lot of support from his partner. His partner really helped him like stay on track and keep up with his work. So I think the group he was in was good. He was also with comfort people. Like he
Mhm.
had a friend, and then the girl that he's like trying to impress, like she was right there too. And then the other girl, like she's just a natural born leader. So there was just a really good group he was with.
Mhm.
So he did really good. He also had started prioritizing like the last day when I gave him the reflection paper, he had a party in one of his classes and he didn't finish his reflection. So instead of being at the party, like his class party, he was like there working on his reflection. I was like, whoa, like this is a totally different Kevin.
Wow, you
I was
did that, Miss Bree.
like, he cares about his grade. Crazy. So that was one. My other focus student, oh yeah, she had a head injury the beginning of the semester, so she was out for the first like 3 weeks. She came in like the second or third day that I started the task, and so I made her my focal student because I wanted to see how well she caught up or how she did with like my instruction, how well I taught her, and how well I got to catch her up given like the different accommodations she needed
Mhm.
because she was out for so long because of her injury. And she did good. She's very shy, very quiet, but I got her caught up and she did good in her reflection, like everything she did. She was able to participate in her group. And so um I felt good about that one. And then my third student, she's a student or they're a student that have had a lot of trouble with like plagiarism before. And so
Mhm.
we've had a lot of meetings. She ended up, or they ended up having like an IP meeting, and we have accommodations now too. And so since then, we've been working on like reducing the amount of like technology usage. And this project specifically, we got to see their artistic skills and like them writing without the use of AI. This is like one of the first times where I've been able to see like fully authentic work. And so I was like, wow.
Mhm.
I'm getting to see like their actual learning and their growth. And I think all three of them showed a lot of growth in this. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. Um, we have 3 minutes.
I know.
If I end the recording, does it automatically save to my why?
I don't know.
Because I'm like, it's recording, but where does it go to?
Maybe,
I think it does automatically save. Let me s
yeah, and then we could just finish up um round 3B and round 4.
yeah, let me see.
Oh, my goodness.
Should I just pause it right here?
Yeah.